What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. It finally happened, guys. 1 year or almost 1 year since we've been waiting for this thing to happen to Raid Shadow Legends. And yes, I am talking about Champion Rebalance. It might not be a year, but it felt like an eternity, okay? And they've actually teased this on their socials. Fortress and Anger. January Rebalance. Now, where is this rebalance? Because it's not in game just yet. It's almost the end of January. I do think it might come in February. At least that's what I've heard from some of the community managers, if I'm not mistaken. In their Discord. So I'm very curious to see whenever this rebalance comes. Now, these two champions, they've been pretty underwhelming. Okay, Fortress is one of the champions that I'm praying never to summon. Maybe the rebalance will make me change my mind. But these are his reviews, and he deserves them, okay? Maybe some of them, they were too kind with some of these locations. Arena Offense, 2.6. In whose dreams, Then, of course, we have Angar, which he doesn't necessarily have the worst kit, but he just needs to do more for a Void Legendary. It feels more like an epic in a legendary version, basically, So very curious to see what exactly they're changing. Now, I gotta add my glasses on, guys, because it's a massive wall of text. These changes are absolutely nuts. And I do apologize if you don't enjoy the sarcasm, but it's definitely well-deserved. And I might sound a bit toxic, but I'm gonna explain you what a champion rebalance actually means, okay? So, Fortress. We have this secret skill on Fortress, okay? He's meant to do crazy damage with this. Astral Terrors. The whole thing that changed. Damage increased. That's it. 1 year to change one thing on the champion. And everything that you're putting in the champion rebalance is damage increased. Like, WTF, is that it? You needed that long to do damage increased on a champion? Is a joke. This champion actually had the same issue when they released him. The main thing that did not work with him were the way they coded his multipliers, and they fixed that a while after they released him, and they fixed it wrong, and now they're basically refixing that and increasing the damage, So that's the whole change that Fortress is getting. You just suck, okay, Fortress, I'm sorry. Plarium made you dirty. Then we have Anger, guys, which again, massive buff, much bigger, okay? I might need probably a few days to read all this, but they increased the damage on Infuriate. They increased the damage on this skill. Now, they already had trash multipliers, okay? The increased damage on this skill probably is going to be weak, okay? I just do not think that they will actually make anything in terms of damage from this champion. Like, his multipliers were so bad before. I think they're just going to, even if they're doubling it, is going to be super weak, Then, they changed this skill. Right now, it's still going to work exactly how you see it right now. But on top of it, they've added a bit of an extra. After he's doing all this, he might have a 75% chance to put Provoke for 2 turns instead of 1. So that's what this change on Anger, this big change on Anger, guys, basically is a copy-paste what Molly Tanker does, Provoke on all enemies for 1 turn, then have an extra chance to provoke for 2 turns instead of the 1. And it's not even an extra chance. It's just a chance to increase the provoke for 2 turns instead of 1, Now, Molly Tanker, she's great as a mischief target. I would say that, yes, probably Angar is not going to be the case. He does attack AoE Void Affinity, which is good, but she has this passive, man. She has the revive if needed, She's just much better overall. So going back to Angar, I'm still not feeling his kit. These champions will be stuck in the vault forever. These changes are not enough. And basically, these changes are not enough as a champion rebalance 1 year later, okay? You don't do any champion rebalance for 1 year. You nerf champions in the process. They probably nerf like 4 or 5 different champions that were being used. It took them this long to nerf them. And it takes them 1 year to basically do these champions from trash to garbage, basically, Like, is that it? But then his passive will actually have a chance to land decrease attack. So if you have provoke on an enemy, it doesn't matter who plays the provoke. When your allies get attacked, including him or including different allies, he will have 100% chance to put decreased attack on that enemy. Which, okay, is not a bad thing, but is it that helpful really? You know, like they need to be provoked. So in Hydra, you can only provoke one head. Basically, you're only gonna have a chance to put a attack down on one head, not on all. So it just makes no sense, you know? It's still not going to be helpful whatsoever. Now, this is for our champion rebalance, guys, okay? These are blue light glasses, actually. I'm seeing just fine, and this rebalance just sucks, okay? Let me just be honest. Now, leaving all that on the side, this is what Plarium thinks rebalancing is in a game. I think that when you have so many champions that are not being used, you need to identify why that champion is not being used, and try to find a solution to make that champion to work, basically, you know, like they've done it in the past, okay? They've done champions like Baron. Baron was being used, actually. He was being used, not as much for Arena, but he was being used for Doom Tower content and stuff, and they completely changed the secret skill. They removed it from being a secret skill, and bang, this skill got much, much better, you know, like instead of dealing pure damage, now it ignores 50% of the target's defense, which is crazy, okay? This is a very powerful skill. Then they've done it for champions like Dracomorph. Dracomorph was utterly trash, was probably one of the worst champions in the game 5 years ago. They came out, they completely changed his kit, okay? And that's what they need to do with some of these champions. Not just add another trash on top of the garbage you had already and just make a pile of trash. Just change the kit and make the kit useful for today's content. There are hundreds of champions that are not being used because you just don't have any use for the champions. And that's because they just don't go well with the content that we have in the game. So they need to be reworked a bit, you know, like you have so many weird kits on so many champions, and unfortunately you're just not getting any value out of them, you know, because they're not putting in the work to compete with the most OP champions in the game. And they don't need to be all OP. They need to have utility, you know, and I mentioned there are quite a few of them. Like Princess Garruk. This champion deals no damage, okay? Like, it's just a poor design. Then you have quite a few different ones that are pretty damn useless. Like, even him, okay? Like, yeah, he has provoke for 100 turns on the enemy, but he doesn't do anything else, so because of it, he's not being used. This champion, completely trash. Alexander Sharpshooter, you know? You have Norog, trash as well, you know? Like, my god. I know he might sound interesting. Yes, I might be able to use him in Clan Boss. For 5 days till I'm pulling my unkillable team, and I'll completely forget, and I'll regret that I built this champion. And there are lots of epics. Let's not necessarily focus only on epics, but there's so many legendaries that are bad. And my main issue with this is that when you are summoning a legendary, wow, you wanna get a decent one. You wanna get a champion that you can use. And the main thing is, yes, they cannot be all Duchess, they cannot be all Rotos, they cannot be all Warlord, but they can be somehow useful, okay? And just knowing how hard it is to get a legendary champion in Raid Shadow Legends, okay? It can cost you hundreds of dollars to get a legendary champion. If you are hitting Mercy on the Void Shards, for example, it's gonna cost you like a stupid amount of money to get. It can cost you $500+ to get one legendary. And when you're getting that legendary as Angar, you're gonna get a smack in the face, literally. You spend $500 for Angar. Or even if you don't spend money, you've saved 200+ Void Shards as free to play to get Angar and never use him, okay? So Plarium, please, listen to feedback on champion rebalance and actually do rebalance. This is not rebalance. This is the laziest thing ever as a developer to come out and put on Fortis damage increased and call it a day, leave it there, you know? When you know that this was the main issue from day one and you could have done it the day after you release the champion, okay? This is not something that requires you to do complex decisions, because the excuse of Plarium is always the game is very complex, it has so many layers upon layers, and it's so hard to take every single decision. I am not saying it's not hard to take decisions, but when we're talking about champion rebalance, It's just you guys understanding your own game and understanding why specific champions are just not working in the current game. And considering that you guys are the game developers, you should be more aware of the things and you should be more aware on how you can improve things so the champions are being playable. But you don't want these champions to be playable, and that's why they got nothing basically. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How I mentioned, call me negative, call me whatever you guys want, because I'm calling out the truth, you know. But this was lazy, and this is not a champion rebalance. This is not how champion rebalance should look, you know. And I'm not saying they've never done good champion rebalances in the past, because they've done tons of them. But this is honestly really underwhelming, considering that we had to wait almost 1 year for this, okay? If we didn't had to wait 1 year for it and was like from a month to a month, I would probably say, okay, whatever, you've done whatever you guys wanted to. We got plenty of different rebalances during all this time, but this is really weak sauce. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. What do you think about this rebalance? Are you excited to summon any of these champions? Are you excited to remove any of these champions from your vault? Or zero impact? At least in my opinion is zero impact. Appreciate every single one of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.